Hi, welcome to our presentation on Cattell's 16 personality factors. Through this presentation, Jill and I will discuss how Cattell's 16 personality assessment was created, how to implement it, its validity and reliability, the appropriate population to utilize it for, its strengths and its weaknesses, what personality theories it aligns with, what was confusing, and what we personally learned through our review of the literature. Raymond Cattell entered the field of psychology after working in a hospital during World War I. Born in 1905, Cattell witnessed the advent of many 20th century inventions, such as electricity, telephones, cars, and airplanes. He was inspired by these innovations and wanted to understand human behavior and human interactions, and he believed that by applying the scientific method, he would be led to a deeper understanding of people, the human mind, and personality. After witnessing the devastation of World War I, he felt like the scientific methods used in those discoveries could lead to an understanding of human behavior and help alleviate the woes of society. Cattell contended that personality was not an unknown, but could be scientifically studied, organized, and predicted based on these characteristics. In an effort to understand differing personalities in humans, Raymond Cattell maintained the belief that a common taxonomy could be developed to explain such differences. This led to the development of personality questionnaires and tests that Cattell then analyzed, and utilizing Charles Spearman's factor analysis, he created his 16 personality trait taxonomy. Cattell's taxonomy is on a continuum, and he believes that all humans possess all 16 traits, just in varying degrees. Here is a table that identifies the primary factor as well as descriptors of what falls into the low and high ranges in regard to personality traits. Implementation of the assessment involves a self-reporting questionnaire that asks about situations and then analyzes your responses. It consists of 163 statements such as, "I trust others," or "I cry during movies," that you rate on the following Likert scale. 1. Disagree. 2. Slightly disagree. 3. Neither agree or disagree. 4. Slightly agree. And 5. Agree. This assessment can be taken via paper and pencil or on the computer. It is an untimed assessment and typically takes between 30 to 50 minutes to complete. It can be utilized by individuals, psychologists, and mental health institutions for evaluative purposes. Once complete, the scores can be interpreted using a number of different systems depending upon why the test is being used. Some interpretive reports take a clinical approach looking at personality, while others are more focused on topics such as career selection, teamwork development, and leadership potential. When it comes to reliability, it rates as having a moderate to good reliability rating. Based on a sample of 10,261 individuals, internal consistency reliabilities average 0.76 for the primary scales and a range of 0.68 to 0.87 for the global factor scales. Reliability coefficients for the global factor scales are higher because they are aggregates of several positively correlated primary factors. Given the length and breadth of the scales, the reliability estimates are considered sufficiently high to provide meaningful personnel and career guidance. Validity studies provide some evidence regarding the construct and criteria-related validity of primary and global 16 personality factor scales. Some studies have found a high correlation between trait scores for the 16 personality factor scales and personality inventories. This indicates that the 16 personality factor does accurately assess personality traits and predict how one may behave in certain situations. This assessment is designed for people 16 years of age or older and is used to gain a holistic view of the person. It can be used in career counseling, couples counseling, and individual counseling. It has also been used in educational, medical, and research settings.
So this leads us to our next point. It's important to know what to do with an assessment after it's administered and what the 16 personality factor assessment can specifically be used for in the context of helping clients. The 16PF is primarily used in industrial, organizational, research, educational, and medical settings. Typically, the assessment is used to help provide vocational information and to find out what occupations typically suit the client. In addition, this assessment can supplement clinical diagnosis, prognosis, and therapy planning, and can help in couples counseling to predict marital compatibility and satisfaction, or can highlight existing or potential problems. Lastly, the assessment can help identify clients with potential academic, emotional, and social problems. There are several strengths as well as weaknesses to using this assessment with clients. The strengths include, but are not limited to, the fact that Cattell took a statistical, measurable approach to studying personality and improved current models of measurement in psychology. He also used factor analysis in the 16 personality factors assessment, which has helped simplify large amounts of data to find similar characteristics and contains a wide range of personality traits that every individual possesses to a certain degree. Due to its strong validity, it is also an assessment that is widely used by psychologists and mental health institutions to evaluate patients with mental health difficulties. On the contrary, the assessment also possesses several weaknesses that must be considered when administering to clients. For example, the theory has never been replicated, and so it calls into question its reliability. The interpretation of the 16 personality factors assessment is complex, and so it necessitates additional training. The use of the question mark suggested as a middle response may direct towards an infrequency response style. There is complexity within the factor analytical approach, and the assessment might present difficulties for individuals whose second language is English. And lastly, the test itself can take up to 50 minutes to complete, and there are no abbreviated versions available. Next, let's talk about how this assessment ties into theory of personality. The 16 personality factor assessment can be used with most counseling theories of personality. However, upon further research, it appears to share many resemblances with a CBT approach. For example, cognitive behavioral therapy states that our thoughts determine our emotions and behaviors, and psychological distress can negatively impact how an individual interprets a particular situation. In the 16 personality factor assessment, factor analysis is used to expose fundamental traits that motivate human behavior and involve an individual's characteristic way of thinking, comprehending, and behaving over an extended period of time. CBT helps individuals to identify unhelpful or unhealthy thinking patterns in order to reduce psychological distress. So, as you can see, the 16PF can be a useful tool, particularly when using a CBT approach.
The hardest part to understand is that although Cattell's contribution to the field of psychology is acknowledged as playing a vital role in using factor analysis and paving the road for personality tests, his theory still faces criticism. The main one is the inability of his theory to be replicated, thus impacting the validity and reliability of his assessment. To this, Cattell asserts that his methodology was not properly utilized and followed, and hence those results are invalid. Other factors that could play into this are human error in calculations. Cattell calculated everything by hand, whereas now we have computers and advanced technology. and this human error has not been factored into the findings and make it challenging to replicate. I wonder if this could be figured out, how would it impact the validity and the reliability? Despite all the criticism of Cattell's hypothesis, his empirical findings have led the way for investigation and later discovery of the big 5 dimensions of personality, which have been monumental in our understanding. Now, here is Jill to continue our presentation.
So Brenda and I learned quite a bit from the literature upon researching the 16 personality factor assessment. One of the primary things that we learned is that personality traits are measurable and not as fluid as we both originally thought. We also gained exposure to various personality traits that motivate human behavior and found that this assessment contains quite a bit of empirical research. In addition, we learned how this assessment can specifically help when working with clients, and the test itself can be used to predict several aspects of an individual's life, including career path or education. To review today's presentation, Brenda talked about the creation of the 16 personality factors assessment, the implementation of the test, its validity and reliability, and what audience this assessment can be used for. In addition, I have talked about how the assessment can be used with clients, its strengths and weaknesses, and the theory of personality that the assessment fits in with. Lastly, we both have talked about what was challenging as well as what we both learned from the research. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our presentation.